most people come here with a hero. No, we don't come here with a hero. What it is, we quickly identify with a hero. I think I told you before, I wanted to be a cowboy of some kind, and I don't mean just a rodeo cowboy. I'm talking about I wanted to be a shoot-'em-up, rootin', tootin', highfalutin', tough-falutin', high-heel bootin', two-gun shooting. I wanted to be the whole thing. And so, one thing I knew that cowboys did, especially the bad ones, and I got a dark side to me, they ambush people. And often I would stand behind this big curtain in our living room, and I knew that my daddy, he got off work at 5:30. He'd always walk the same way through the house, headed back to change clothes, get ready for the evening, and I was right there with one of those spring-loaded suction cup dart guns, and I would get him every time. Boom! Always out of the blue. And he would brag on me. He would tell me what a good ambusher I was. I mean, you could be Butch Cavendish ambushing the Lone Ranger, but of course I didn't want to ambush the Lone Ranger, but it made me feel good. And here's why. Here's why. The reason we have heroes is that most of the time a hero is a role model. Most of the time we actually, in some way or another, to some degree or another, we really do hope. And to a degree, we really do believe that we got the potential to grow up and be like our hero. Those are what I'm going to call some of our earliest intuitions. Because we don't come into this world looking for the underdog, and usually not the villain to identify with, unless we're raised in some dark, oppressive circumstances and things happen in our minds. But generally, we come here looking for a hero because our oldest intuitions tell us on a primordial level, or if you want to use an easier word, just even a small child has this sense beneath everything else that I'm here for something good. I'm here for something big. I'm here to do something. I'm here to deliver somebody. I'm here to set somebody free. I'm here to take out some bad guys. Another way of saying this is that we come here with a built-in sense of mission. There's something I'm in here in this world to do. There's a built-in assumption that my life has a purpose, that God has made me a certain way, and therefore there are certain things I'm going to accomplish. But now here's what happens. Because we are kids, and we do have this desire to be heroes, usually by the time we're out of elementary school, if not before, we've already discovered. I mean, if you're a little boy, by the time you're in the 6th grade, unless you really do happen to be the strongest, quickest, toughest boy in your class, you will have discovered in playground wrestling matches that you are not king of the hill, that there are other people stronger than you, faster than you. And it starts making you wonder, well, maybe I can't be the heavyweight champ. And so we try something else. Maybe I can be the fastest, but I discover, hey, there's several kids and even a couple of girls that can outrun me. Do you know my sister, whom I'll see next weekend, and I'm so excited. She's 10 years younger than me. She was born a beauty queen, but when she was 5, 6 years old, she started gaining weight. And she got really heavy through about 7th grade. But she was such a natural runner and athlete that when she was at her heaviest, she was a 200-pound 7th grader. Imagine carrying all that weight. and yet she could outrun every boy in her class. Well, I've spent enough time there. I'm saying simply to recap, we have this early sense of intuition. I'm here to be a hero. But life, realistic experiences tend to shut that down and take away those beliefs. And here's how it happens. It is true. The earliest intuitions are true. You do have a reason for being here. Yes, you do have a mission. And it is in some way or another a heroic mission. But here's where the kid just naturally goes wrong. We assume it's got something to do with defeating the master of the universe. It's about destroying the Death Star and Darth Vader. It's about rounding up bad guys. When really, very few of us really do those kind of things. If you're going to be a hero, if I'm going to be a hero, we're going to do so in different areas of life that a child is not even aware of. And so all too quickly, many times by the time we're in junior high school, we've already given up on the idea that I'm ever going to really make a difference, that I have what it takes to stand out, that I have what it takes to be an overcomer and help other people and deliver them from the bad guys and the oppressors. And it's not that our early intuitions were wrong. It's that we did not know how to apply them. Now, why am I going into all this trouble? It's to build on what I've discussed the last 2 weeks and take it quickly to a comparison between Samson and Jesus. I'm going to say as little as possible about Samson today because I haven't by any means covered Samson, but I've said enough about Samson that your memory's been refreshed. And I'm going to point out some basic hero qualities that you see in Samson and other heroes. And I'm going to compare that with the ultimate hero, the hero, Jesus Christ, who not only defeated the evil oppressor who was putting people to death, Jesus defeated death itself. Now there's a feat that even Superman never attempted, except for that time he went backwards around the world and turned time back. But that's a rare exception. And I'm talking over many of your heads, and I don't have time to explain. But with that in mind, I want to read you the last part of a verse I've read you already twice in the last 2 weeks. So we're just going to, the whole verse will be up here. This is Judges 13:5. And I'm only going to focus on the last couple of lines. The angels visited his parents to give them this message. You're going to have a child. He's going to be a special child, unusual child, born with a mission. And here's the mission. He will begin to rescue Israel from the Philistines. The Philistines were the oppressors. This was not just a war over ego or territory or economics. It was a war of survival. The Philistines were the foreign force who'd moved in, superior numbers, superior armor, weapons, ships, chariots, tactics, dominated Israel. And on their own, they did not stand a chance unless God raised up a hero. So, Samson's mission, you see, his mission from the time he's a little child, he's told what it is. He's going to begin to deliver his people from oppression. Now, I want to draw some parallels between Samson as a hero and the hero type character that you will find all over human history. Present day, 1,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago, there are certain elements that you will generally find in play, at work, in the life of the ordinary hero. Samson had this. You're going to see that Jesus had this. One of those is that the hero, whether you're reading about the hero in the Bible or in the legend of King Arthur from England, or ancient Greek mythology, or a BBC documentary that's just been released last year, or whether you're just watching your favorite brand new cop show on TV, or your favorite movie. Oftentimes, the birth of the hero is surrounded by almost supernatural events. At the very least, very unusual events. All of which are meant to signal to you, this is no ordinary kid here. He was sent here with special powers for a special purpose, and he's going to begin discovering these powers as he grows up. For example, Superman, one everybody knows. When he was a little bitty baby, his planet, Krypton, was about to be destroyed. Y'all with me? His mother, father, they put him in a capsule, shoot him out into the atmosphere. He landed on Earth. Iowa farmers found him, raised him. But they quickly found out, ooh, this was no ordinary boy. I've recently been reading some King Arthur. King Arthur had this kind of birth. When he was born, his parents were about to be killed. They put him in a boat, shipped him out to sea, and it just so happened that in this story, God guided that little vessel, sort of like he guided Moses' basket, and placed it in the bulrushes in just the right place where Pharaoh's daughter would come down and find it. That's pretty miraculous. She took him home, she raised him, and she did not even know. What a good storyline this is. You never heard truth is more interesting than fiction? That true story of Moses, that's brilliant. I mean, who could have written it any better than what the reality was? He is being raised in the very home of the ruler he's going to grow up and overthrow. God has a sense of irony and creativity, and sometimes a sense of humor. But King Arthur was found by Merlin, the powerful magician, and a series of events led to the discovery. He's got power. He's the rightful king. Luke Skywalker, he doesn't know who his father is. He thinks he's an orphan with no father. And some of you know what I'm talking about. I know you don't know all of these, but some of you know some of them, and you get the point. Later, who did Luke Skywalker discover his father was? Darth Vader. So here you have it with Samson. This angel says, this boy's got a future. He's got a purpose. And I'm going to take you back to a verse from last week where Samson's parents, in this original conversation with the angel, they said to the angel, could you tell us your name? Because like we talked about, the name in the ancient world revealed a lot about who a person, or in this case, an angelic messenger was. Something about their character or their mission. And when they asked, verse 3:18, let's look at that, 3:18, they asked, could you tell us your name? Could you tell us your name? Because when all this comes true, we want to be able to thank you. And his answer was, it is too wonderful for you to understand. And I gave some attention to that a couple of weeks ago, but I did not get to do it justice. The angel of the Lord replied, my name, you want to know who I am? You want to know who I'm about? You want to know what this story is about and where it's headed? Guess what? It is too wonderful for you to understand. There are some things in this world. Why do you think Revelation and end-time prophecy and glimpses of heaven pointed to in the Scripture are the most mysterious and difficult to nail down because it's too wonderful for you to understand. Now I want you to see that word wonderful in a different light. The word broken down is actually wonder-filled. Think about it. You ever thought about, pay attention to words, English words. Because even though they're translated words, the translators knew what they were doing. What does it mean to be wonder-filled? It's very simple. It means full of wonder, amazement, things so marvelous. In this case, I'm not even going to try to tell you because I can't do it justice. You're just going to have to live into it, and you'll see it for yourself. So with these heroes, you got this exciting birth. And here's another thing you got with heroes. You're going to be fascinated, some of you, when you start seeing these patterns. By the way, why are these patterns here? Because they are patterns God built into human nature. God built the world to work in certain ways. He built human beings with certain tendencies, certain inclinations. And therefore, that's the reason why history so often repeats itself. Because the individuals who live in this generation, while they may wear a completely different style of clothes and use totally different language and different technology, when it comes right down to it, they're made of the same stuff. Their minds work the same way. So you see repetitive patterns throughout history. In the hero character, here's what you're going to see every time. Think about this. The hero always has amazing strengths that nobody else has, but guess what else? He's also got glaring weaknesses. Samson, perfect example. His body was the strength of his body. It's a mystery. I don't know how this thing worked, but his strength, it was so remarkable. They never found a limit to it. You know what? His strength, that gift God gave him, was too wonderful to understand. But did he not also have a weakness? He had a very strong body. Guess what else he had? Very strong passions. And in particular, passionate about good-looking women. And you know what else? As strong as his body was, there was one part of him that was even stronger. What was that? His passions. Now that's some strong passions. I mean, if you say Lance Sawyer's passions are stronger than his body, you're not saying a whole lot. That means he doesn't have much to talk about on either one. Samson, when you say his passions were even stronger than his physical strength, that means something. We're talking about he had passions, desires, obsessions. He had this gnawing hunger for forbidden things so strong that even this strongest man in the Bible could not resist. Every hero's got his strengths and his weaknesses. I can't give you a lot of examples, but what's the weakness of Superman? Everybody knows that. What? Kryptonite. Kryptonite. Why kryptonite? Why do we have to give Superman a weakness? You know why? Now, he's the difference is obviously Superman is a cartoon character who later had movies made. I mean, he's a fictitious character, whereas Samson's an actual person. But the fact is, when human beings create a character like Superman, in order to be true to our nature, in order for people to relate to Superman, he's got to have a weakness. Why? Because we have weaknesses. No matter what our strength, we got weaknesses. And we're often helpless in the face of those weaknesses. Kryptonite totally took away Superman's strength, made him weak. In the same way, Samson's strength was entirely dependent not on his hair. That's almost superstitious. The hair, the long hair, was the visible representation of a vow he had made to God. And the vow was one of complete consecration to God. There was a long list, not a long list, but a thorough list of strict guidelines, rules, non-negotiable rules that Samson had to live by. And the symbol of this, the long hair, never cutting his hair, that was the outward symbol that everybody in that culture looked at and said, oh, he's a Nazarite. That means he doesn't ever touch dead bodies. He touches no alcohol. He certainly doesn't flirt around with Philistine women. Lord. And yet Samson was doing all these things for a long time. Because Samson, like many strong, powerful people, started believing his press releases. He did not believe he could really fall. He did not. He lost touch with the reality that his strength came from God. And when we lose touch with that, then God sort of fades into oblivion. We're on our own. It works for a while until one day we, like Samson, find ourselves in a place we shouldn't be, with somebody we should have never gone off with, and trouble hits. And we jump up like Samson and say, who said, oh, I will just go out like all other times. I'll shake myself and send Philistines slinging through the air, crashing against walls in every direction. But he did not recognize the Spirit of the Lord had departed him. And without that, he was weak. So he was strapped down, as I said last week. Eyes poked out, placed in a prison, lost his ordinary strength, so he was just like any other man. Put him to the task of pushing round and round. Samson. Now, there again, you got to realize that you too have passions that are strong. What are your strongest passions? We all got them. And maybe we chose them, maybe we didn't. Most likely we stumbled upon them, or maybe we just discovered we have them. For plenty of people, it's alcohol, or it's drugs, or, food. People, and you know, I laugh as I say that, because it's one we tend to not take so seriously. But do you know, Jesus and the New Testament make no distinction between drunkenness, idolatry, and gluttony. I mean, they're listed in the same way. Because what? All three of those things have one thing in common. You're out of control. Your passions are in control. And it really doesn't matter what the passion is, whether it be a physical appetite or a sexual appetite or an appetite for a drug. Anything out of control is out of control. And it steps into the place of God, and it is the thing we obey. It's the thing we got to have. And the reality is, if God is not kept in the center of our lives, if we do not keep bringing ourselves back to center point, reminding ourselves that He is the one we answer to. He's the one who put us here. He's the one under whom I place the control of my life, I will continually go out after other gods, other passions. Now listen, we all do that. And I don't know that very many of us ever stop doing it, but we can do this. Here's a sign you're growing spiritually: when you start to go off in pursuit of some other passion, and you catch yourself and recognize what you're doing earlier and earlier in the process. It does, rather than recognizing it once you're laying in a gutter, you realize it on the way to the buffet. And you whip into, well, there's no good option in Mena. You drive to Hot Springs and you go to Whole Foods and get you some kale salad or something. I'm saying that the goal is to catch it earlier and earlier. The earlier you can catch yourself following a passion, the less power it has. And the more strength you're going to have to pull that car back to the center. But you got to want it. You got to try. Samson didn't even try. So he wound up rock bottom. Rock bottom. Looked like he was defeated. And he was. He was defeated. He lost everything. But here's the remarkable thing about Samson that I want to show you. The thing about his defeat. When the Philistines defeated him, he lost it all. I would say he was on his back looking up, only he was blind. All he could see was darkness. He got his low. He went from the high, oh, how the mighty have fallen, the scripture says. He went from the highest point to the lowest part, 0 to 60. He woke up down there. And the hero Samson had been defeated. And guess what else got defeated along with Samson the hero? His arrogant, self-sufficient ego got defeated. And guess what? As much as it hurt him, as humiliating, as painful as it was for him to lose the first fight of his life, be tortured, thrown into prison with no hope of a future, it was the most painful thing of his life. Some of you have experienced this as I have, and you know that many times the lowest, most painful part of your life is the turning point. Because when you get there, that's when you finally realize, hey, this way I'm operating doesn't work. Is there a better way? I'm sure not going to keep trying this because I've done it over and over and I see where it gets me. That's when Samson began to pray for the first time. That's when the Bible says the hair of his head began to grow again. That's when God gave him one final opportunity to finish or at least make a significant lick, a punch, a blow toward the purpose of his life that it started with. Now, had he taken advantage of every opportunity? No. Had much good opportunity and time been lost? Yes. But it's never too late to get right with God and to take whatever time you have remaining and commit it wholly to the Lord. That's exactly what he did. And so, Samson did more to fulfill the purpose of his life in his dying moments than he had done in all the 30 or so years leading up to it. Why? Because for the first time, he was actually in sync, in harmony, in line with who God made him to be. And the only good, true, lasting things, and notice I said lasting things, you and I are going to accomplish in this world are the things we do which are in harmony with who God made us to be, with the opportunities He gave us in order to carry out that work, and we are submitted to Him. Those are the things you do that make a lasting contribution to the cause of Christ. So it's never too late, and it's better late than never. So wherever you are, I'm not going to tell you that you'll get to redo every mistake you ever made. You won't. But you will still have an opportunity to do some good things. Guess what? Some good things that are in sync with what you were born to do. And you can do more during this next portion of your life, whether it's 30 years or 30 days, than you've done in all the past put together. That's what I want you to know. And I want you to know that without that, life will seem to have no meaning. I started to say life has no meaning. That's not accurate. Life has meaning for all of us, every single one of us. But if we resist God long enough, if we insist on our way long enough, we can eventually get so far removed from that meaning God built into our life that many never rediscover it, and they die wondering, why have I even lived? Even Samson recognized it. I have to recognize it every time I stray off the path, because I know if I keep going the direction I'm going, it won't happen. Bring yourself back, and again to that narrow way that leads to your life.